10. It'll be in the Williams 3 district. 29213, 18th Avenue South.
99, 10-4, please stand by.
The police scanners in TV23's newsroom blasted at full volume. We couldn't chance missing anything. A search warrant, an arrest, or oh God, another attack.
Copy.
We, like everybody else, were transfixed by what happened to this 44-year-old woman. We didn't know Phyllis's name yet. Police don't release rape victims' names to the press unless they have permission from the survivor. So Phyllis remained a nameless, faceless mystery, except for what happened to her. Some of us were mesmerized by the sensational nature of the crime. Mark Williamson was the anchor at TV23.
There was this woman in Akron, Ohio that was, I don't even know what the word for it is, brutalized as an object of a vicious human being who hated women.
As a young reporter, I struggled with what happened to this woman. I was still dealing with my own trauma. You know, that thing I don't like to talk about out loud, would never talk about out loud in any newsroom.
When you came into work in that newsroom, and before that, was all men. They smoked, they were crude, they were crass, they were terrible.
And at times I tried to match them. I was crude, tough, morally challenged. I wanted to fit in, be one of the boys, to prove I was up to the task, that what happened to me would not have happened had I only been smarter, tougher, cruder, just like them. It never worked professionally. I still had to do the stuff I hated, like the weather and traffic reports. And from the outside, some viewers judged me, not for my work, but for what I looked like. Suddenly, I started to receive marriage proposals. WAKR's general manager warned me a man thought I was his wife and to be careful. Viewers would call in to complain I dressed provocatively. An article in the Akron Beacon Journal read in part, Carol Costello is the woman most likely to make men drool on the remote control during the evening news in Northeast Ohio. It all made me doubt my abilities. And worse, blame myself for everything. Luckily, I had a champion. My boss at WAKR, Larry States. He trusted me to cover hard news, too. That's what people in the news business call stories about the economy, severe weather, and crime. I respected Larry. I did not want to let him down, so I sucked it up. I occasionally played weather girl and routinely did traffic reports for WAKR radio. In between, I did what I thought would fuel my reporting career. I answered the phones in the newsroom, hoping for a news-laden tip. Hi, this is Carol Costello, WAKR TV23. Can I help you?
I have some information on who attacked that lady.
I'm listening.
It's a guy I know. He's a doper, prone to violence.
What's his name?
Phil.
How do you know this?
Listen, I just know, okay? I would have called the cops, but I can't get through. You tell him, okay? I just want to help that lady.
There were a lot of calls like that. I'm reading from the police logs now. Here's one from Everett. Saw a guy hitchhiking that resembled the suspect. Another one from Charisse. She claimed the suspect placed the numbers at the carryout corner store. Here's another one from an anonymous caller. Overheard a customer talking to Mickey. He saw the suspect yesterday. They all sounded so pointless. But there was something about the caller who mentioned Phil that made me pause. Or maybe I was too green to discount it, or maybe I just wanted to help, because I actually called the Akron Police Department and shared the information. I came across my name in a police report from 1984. I'm looking at it now. The entry says from Carol at WAKR. Akron police took every call seriously. They set up a special hotline and assigned someone to log every call that came in, and there were hundreds of them. What detectives really needed, though, was to find the house where Phyllis had been attacked. They needed physical evidence, fingerprints, carpet fibers, the knife, witnesses. Again, Phyllis's powers of observation fueled the search. The Freedom Flyer. That black eagle on a house 2 streets over and a block away. That bright blue house Phyllis had glimpsed as she sat on the back porch was critical, but not easy to find. Police couldn't put Phyllis in a car and drive her around. She couldn't see. More than 200,000 people lived in Akron in 1984. There were no satellite images on Google Maps to pour through. Police had to physically go street by street. They drew graphs, took pictures, but still.
It would just be like a needle in a haystack. And that's what it was, you know.
Dolores was a Summit County Sheriff's deputy in 1984.
Each precinct had their own mission on trying to find, you know, this house and what was across the street from it and stuff. But it was just constant, you know, all hours, you know, on that. And it was just, you know, I don't think it's been nothing like it since, you know.
It was as if the entire city had mobilized into a giant crime-fighting army. The outreach was overwhelming, but not nearly enough, because an incredibly dangerous man was still out there, somewhere. I'm Carol Costello. This is Blind Rage, Episode 6, Manhunt. Detective Chris Contos and his partners sifted through hundreds of tips that had come through the switchboard.
Public is the greatest thing. They're like detectives for us.
They'd been briefed on what their fellow detectives and the cops on the street had gathered the night before. It was a lot to sort through, and they had to do it at record speed because the community and the media pressure to snag a strong lead was intense.
We made a plan to concentrate on this case and canvass the area, go to house, talk to all the witnesses.
There was one tip out of hundreds of tips that intrigued them. It was from someone who worked in a neighborhood bar.
Why was this bar of particular interest? Why did they believe this woman when she said that there was someone suspicious in the bar? Why did that stick out?
Well, probably his description. Now, this is a neighborhood bar. The guy's never been in there before. He was nervous, pacing back and forth. He actually stopped somebody in the bar and said, "Are you going downtown?" And the guy said, "No, I'm going east," which is the opposite direction from there. And he was just pacing back and forth. I mean, he was very nervous.
And it was near where the car was dropped off.
Yes. Probably like 2-3 blocks away if you go straight across.
Contos and his partner wasted no time. They drove to the bar called the 1286 and asked for a woman who had called in a tip about the attack.
She said, "I'm the manager." And there was a bartender there. There was a Pepsi driver. And there was also Chili Mo.
Chili Mo. I want you to remember that name.
Chili Mo was a patron?
Yeah.
A regular patron?
Yeah.
And just like on the old sitcom Cheers, the 1286 was a place where everybody knew your name, especially Chili Mo. But I'm getting ahead of myself. All of them, the manager, the bartender, and Chili Mo, noticed the stranger who tore into the bar. He carried a gym bag. He was agitated. He took his hat off and put it back on 2 or 3 times. At one point, he opened the gym bag. It made a metallic clanking sound as he rummaged through it. He calmed himself down, not with booze, but with orange juice. He ordered 2 glasses at roughly 3:56, 40 minutes after police responded to Phyllis's burned-out car. Then he made his way to a payphone. He made 2 calls. One of those calls would be his second mistake.
And then the bartender tells you the guy called a cab.
That's right. He called a cab.
And that, to me, that was the greatest thing that happened right there. For us. The dumbest thing for him.
Why was it the greatest thing for you that he called a cab?
Well, a cab drops you off someplace and you have an idea, and we could follow the trace the description. I called my lieutenant and said, "Lieutenant, could you call the cab company and find out where he was dropped off?"
Done and done. The cab company told detectives a man named Ronald or Arnold had called for a ride. Initially, he wanted to go to a Trailways bus station 5 miles away, but he suddenly changed his mind. The man who called himself Ronald or Arnold said he noticed a friend and wanted to be dropped off, like now. Then he changed his tune again and asked, "Where's the liquor store?" The cabbie, a tad confused, obliged. He told Ronald, or whatever his name was, he owed him $2.15. Ronald handed the cabbie 2 $1 bills, a dime and 5 pennies. Hadn't Phyllis's attacker swiped some change from the ashtray before he torched the car? More when we return. Join James Woolner on a journey through a gripping true crime tale. James is a talented storyteller. He has a way of exploring cases with compassion. His stories are deeply researched. James does the hard work. He talks to victims' family members, law enforcement, and even the perpetrator's family. He helps us understand that crime touches us in different ways, painful ways, but ways that are important for us to understand. I think you could describe Dakota Spotlight as an expert blend of storytelling, investigative journalism, and thorough research. But where to start? Well, I would start with Season 9, The Mandan Murders. James takes us on a roller coaster ride of emotion. Set in Mandan, North Dakota, this 9-part series offers listeners a profound journey into the depths of the human experience amidst tragedy. James even talks with the family of the convicted killer, Chad Isaac. Trust me, this story will touch you. Give Dakota Spotlight a listen.
What's the difference between DIY and doing it yourself? It's the difference between a part-time passion and a full-time business. Wix gives you the power to turn your passion into a moneymaker. With a website that fits your unique vision and the business tools you need to succeed. Let your ideas flow with AI that guides you, but keeps you in the driver's seat. Manage your business from one dashboard and keep it growing with built-in marketing features. It's time to turn your daydream into your dream job. Do it yourself. Go to Wix.com.
Contos walked outside. He knew this neighborhood like it was his own. Here's Emily Pelfrey.
I know a number of detectives from Akron, and they not only know the street names, but they know the people that live on the streets. They know how people live day to day, what the stomping grounds are. They're so ingrained in the environment that it's almost like that, Akron itself is its own individual. So the fact that he was able to kind of say, I know this area, let me just look around. Let me see if something looks different than it usually does. It's that relationship that the detectives or the officers have with the city, I think, that is so important.
Contos looked around, and then something dawned on him.
I don't know, something hit me. I don't know, it just hit me. You go to the parole office.
So just based on what the cab driver told you of where he got off, you decided, I'll just check into the parole office to see if he went there.
Yeah.
Why didn't this Ronald guy go to the Trailways bus station and get the hell out of town? Why did he ask to be dropped off after a 4-minute ride at a liquor store when he was just in a bar and he'd ordered orange juice? Why? Maybe because he needed to go someplace else, like the parole office that was right around the corner from where he was dropped off. Contos was making inferences, and to be clear, his snap decision was big.
The parole office secretary was asked if she recalled any subject coming into the office around 4 p.m. on the afternoon of March 20th.
She said yes. His name was Sammy Herring.
She noted that Mr. Herring signed in on the roster at 4 p.m., but he came in at 4:10 p.m.
There was a reason Sammy inaccurately signed in at 4 o'clock. The parole officer did not see anyone after 4, but on the 20th, that officer, Mr. Rhodes, made an exception. Sammy told Mr. Rhodes about his dream to become a professional boxer in the 185-pound class. In fact, he had a gym bag with him so he could work out later. The gym bag. The receptionist told Contos that Herring left his gym bag near the front desk instead of bringing it into Mr. Rhodes's office, as is required.
The gym bag. When he brought the gym bag in, well, according to her, she said he left it in the outer seating area, lobby or whatever. And then he signed in, and then he went to see Mr. Rhodes. And Mr. Rhodes said, go get your gym bag, because they have a right to search these people. When they come in, they can search everything for their safety too. This guy could have a gun and shoot his parole officer. But Sammy had to be told twice, 3 times maybe, to go get the bag and bring it in there.
And each time, Herring refused to get his gym bag. It remained in the lobby while he and his parole officer talked about why Sammy hadn't applied for a job. But that gym bag and Herring's refusal to bring it into Mr. Rhodes' office and possibly undergo a search intrigued Contos. It gave him a lead, a name, Samuel Herring.
Had it not been for the gym bag, would you have kind of like put that on your list, but not really felt it was important to check out Samuel Herring further?
No, I would. When he came in there and he came late and similar description, I thought, he's better than anybody we had, I think from then on.
Contos didn't know the extent of Herring's record, but he knew it wasn't clean. Still, he had to connect Herring to the bar. It's one thing for 3 people to notice an agitated guy in a bar. It's another thing for them to identify him in a police lineup or photo array.
Well, the barmaid was good. She gave us the physical description, and everybody brought up the thing about the bag. Chili Mo, he's a black man, and black people do better in describing other black people than a white person. They were all interviewed. And the bartender gave us a description. It's all similar, and it's described pretty close to the Sammy Herring. Well, we didn't know it was Sammy Herring, to the person that did the crime.
So, but you couldn't arrest Sammy Herring at that point, obviously. So, but you had a strong suspicion.
Right.
Next week, a suspect. Carol Costello presents Blind Rage as a signature show of the Killer Podcast Network. If you enjoy this series, please subscribe and rate it on your favorite listening apps. And discover more great true crime and paranormal programming at killerpodcast.com. And if you want to discover more about this case, follow me on Instagram at Carol Costello. You'll find pictures of Phyllis, newspaper reports, crime scene photos, and more. Blind Rage is a co-production of Evergreen Podcasts and Carol Costello. This episode was produced by Chris Aiola and me, Carol Costello. Additional thanks to audio engineer Sean Rule-Hoffman, contributor Nijah Golliday, production director Brigid Coyne, and executive producer Gerardo Orlando. Original music is composed by Timothy Law Snyder. Our voice of the court is Douglas F. Bailey II. The information in this podcast came from my memories of the event. Phyllis Cottle, her family members and friends, former law enforcement, prosecutors, former and current journalists, police reports, and court documents. I've tried to tell this story factually to the best of my ability, but sometimes memory fails. It's been a long time, but my goal is simple. Phyllis was an amazing woman, and her story of courage should be shared.
The truth about the Haditha massacre has been covered up, but not anymore.
I know you know what happened.
They went into houses and killed women and children.
What are you thinking?
What a mess.
U.S. Marines murdered innocent civilians in cold blood.
And at the center of it all
is 25-year-old Sergeant Frank Wuterick.
And me. Murder in House 2. A new podcast from Crowd Network.